going around the shop, this is probably my favorite feature of my shop. It's some old, like, home center storage shelves that had one of the brackets fail. And I was trying to determine what to do with it. And I think I saw a lot of people using that, those white metal panels are called wall something. And I think those are my favorite way to do it. But they're a little bit expensive for the acreage I wanted to cover with them. So I took a lot of the S-hooks from there and I started hanging them on one panel. And I enjoyed it so much because I don't lose things like the miter gauge, my push stick, my respirator, safety glasses. I have a place for the backpack I use if I go do something at somebody's house when I'm taking like my drills, drivers, screwdrivers, stuff like that, or even around my own house. So this worked out really, really well for me. I have to rearrange it because I have to put a counter here for my drill press and my grinder and some of my benchtop tools. But I think I'm probably going to do something like this in all of my shops because I want to find a way to make it a little bit neater. But in terms of access and visual ability to just grab tools right away, it's terrific. It's worked for me wonders. Going around, there's a little bit of the wall control that I have. I don't know that I prefer that because I can hang bigger things on this that are kind of oddly shaped. But I think if I was able to, have a whole maybe 4-foot section of that and then the rest of it wire racks for equipment, I would probably be doing something like that, especially since that's magnetic. And I think that's pretty cool. So this is all of the storage of things like bags, fences, machine accessories, bigger tools, things with belt clips, all of that kind of stuff that I'm going to go grab like one thing of that. In general terms, it's going to go on this side. All of my extra hand tool storage is right here with all the bits, although it's actually supposed to be on my other countertop. The big doors over here is the lathe that I just came into the shop. It's a metalworking lathe. It's a South Bend 10-inch lathe from like the 70s. And it's this is the counter shaft for it, which has been like a nightmare to find. Once I find that, I'll be able to do this, which is really terrific because I used to run some of this type of equipment in college, and I really, really miss it. So I'm really, really excited about that. Underneath it is just some general storage of like scraps, paint cans, mineral oil for my cutting boards. Let's see if I can get my rig to turn. The bathroom that I need to run water to again. And all of that area back here is all of that kitchen area. You guys saw me make this in a video. I'm putting all of my like precious tools here. Like, I don't necessarily mean precious in terms of like I'm keeping them safe, but I absolutely hate losing my square marker, having at least one, type of a screwdriver on hand. The screwdrivers I have here are inside because I was taking something apart. But I always want to have access to like there's like 15 tools that I always want to have access to whenever I need them. Those 15 tools are precious to me. Those tools go here. This was a video that I don't think I put a lot of explanation into. There's probably still some rearranging to do here, but this has been absolutely terrific because I haven't lost my pencil. I haven't lost my squares. I haven't lost my glue roller. I haven't lost my ice pick anymore. This has been really, really nice. Moving on, I've got my clamp storage. My clamp storage is probably my second favorite thing here in the shop. For those of you who need to know, if you have a lot of pony clamps, a 3/4 inch electrical conduit hanger is exactly the right size for a 3/4 inch black pipe that you'd put a pony clamp on. They just basically click in and click out. It's terrific. I'm never going to go back. I haven't worked out perfectly yet how to get my aluminum, I forget what these are called, parallel clamps? No. The other clamps I use for cutting boards, I haven't figured out how to get in between here yet. I'm thinking about, I've seen a lot of people take these Harbor Freight clamps and stiffen them with a 1x1 that goes down the center. And I'm thinking about doing that. And I'm I'm thinking about doing that, stiffening them with a 1x1, but putting a magnet so that they can go onto like a screw head or something like that, just to keep them in here. They weigh they're so light. That's actually the problem, is that they're so light, vibration will cause them to fall off sometimes. So I got to deal with that and all the rest of my clamps. That's how I deal with all my squeeze clamps. This is another bracket off of those shelves that didn't work out for me. I really like it. It's really very, very convenient. If I lower the camera again as we move around. Chop saw station was the best improvement I've made in the last 6 weeks. I used to have to fight with that thing getting in and out from under a shelf, but I need to use it more and more often as I've been doing some bigger projects, which is why I'm doing all this rearranging that came to a halt when my table saw broke. And I just couldn't manage the 8-foot 2x4s, the 8-foot plywood, the 8-foot hardwood material coming from the supply store that I go to. I just couldn't handle it, and I couldn't deal with cross-cutting on my table saw because A, the table saw was broken, and B, I'm starting to get things in here that are like 12 feet long, 14 feet long, all that are much wider than my shop is. And so I decided to just find a dedicated spot for the chop saw, and it's worked out absolutely terrific. And I need to maybe move it a little bit further out or a little bit further in. I'm not quite sure, but it's really, really worked out for all the things that I've needed the last like 2 months. Bolted to a very similar old half wall is the planer, and putting a dedicated place for the planer has also worked out really well for me because it used to be on a countertop, like a temporary countertop that was over here on the wall. But now putting it over here, once it's folded up, leaves me a lot more room to deal with things on this countertop. The last of today's tour. See if I can get some light in here. There we go. So starting on the planer side, I have the old cabinet, the old basic frame that the planer was sitting on is right here with an old IKEA chest of drawers that I'm keeping a lot of like rags and respiratory filters and that kind of stuff in. The bandsaw needs to live somewhere else, but it's stored there for now. It's not very useful in its current state. I need to find a place for it where wood can actually pass through correctly. But that's a whole nother problem for a whole nother day. This is the countertop I was talking about that I installed. It was clean for about 3 weeks. It was great because I was able to do a lot of the tinkering I need to do. Like when I tried to disassemble my table saw motor, there's a couple of other things I had to disassemble, clean, and re-put back together. But then when the flood happened on that side of the shop and when the table saw broke, I've had to do a lot of rearranging around here for storage and parts that currently is taking up where that stuff normally lives. So there's another shop-oriented challenge or prompt later in the month that hopefully I'm going to get the rest of this all cleaned up, and you'll see how I intend to keep my shop. But between the flood, the table saw, and more material coming in for more projects, it's been a little chaotic. This doesn't typically live here. This is a desktop I've been trying to get finished, and a old kitchen counter, basically like a kitchen island shelf that I was building that just didn't turn out to be the right size. So for now, it's my polyurethane station. I don't know that I'm going to leave it here. I like it more than I thought, even though it's only been here for a day. I might end up just putting casters on it so it can be wheeled over where the wood stove is. But this typically doesn't live here because I take all my long material over here, turn it around, and bring it back in because of how short the ceiling is. And that's it. There's some toolboxes over there for when I actually take tools somewhere. But by and large, this is the active part of the shop. When I have the rest of the shop cleaned up, I'll take on another tour. But besides that, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you've got questions, let me know. I'll try to answer them best I can. Some of this stuff was out of need, not necessarily design. but I enjoy it. I'm blessed to have this shop. I'm really grateful to have this shop, and I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me as I've explained a lot of this. So stay safe. See you next time.